Hello everybody, my name is welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order as Yunnan. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, might end up being like a slightly shorter video, because I'm recording this like 40 minutes before I have to leave for work. So, might be a little short, but that's okay. So, we are currently flattening the soil, because we're still trying to like make sure that in Yunnan, we're not too weak. We're trying to shore those up. And I don't even remember what does it actually do for us. Infrastructure. Unlocks decisions to prepare for states of Yunnan Administration Office to further infrastructure expansion. Virus and more GDP growth. I mean, it sounds good. Sounds good. We'll see how well that goes for us. Because again, we're still waiting for that revolution. It might fire when we do take a day off. That would be my guess. Because if it hasn't happened yet, it'll probably happen when we're actually done this focus tree. But we'll lay down the roads. We'll get some railroads, more GDP growth, and some states. Sounds good, sounds good. Flattening the soil. Do you think those fuckers get off of, from eating Luhan shit? Or will anybody's do? Chao and other members of the Shang Gang were standing in a large valley in the northern part of Yunnan, watching as a black plume of smoke rose skyward. For the last few days, as part of some bullshit order given by some bullshit bureaucrat, he and hundreds of other prisoners have been deployed across the country to rebuild China. While other prisoners were repairing bridges or building apartment blocks, he and his crew were given explosives and told to flatten the valley to make way for some road. At least that was the idea. Now, said Chao in a sweet, mocking voice. He gestured towards the rubble-strewn hill where several prisoners were again setting up explosives, getting ready to clear it. We must salute these patriotic sons of China. It is only through their hard work that our countrymen can prosper. He leaned forward. Because the fewer explosives on the black market, the more we can charge for it. The crew erupted into laughter. While the morons across the valley were content with following orders, Chao and his men and his crew saw little reason to help out the government traders do anything. Better to pursue the far more lucrative business of selling it to bandits, or of helping them destroy convoys and launching robberies. At least the bandits were straight about their motives. The real motives are over there in, I don't know, what's their capital again? Over in Kunming. The real bandits are over here in Luhan. Selling out the Yunnanese people to the Japanese overlords. And those in Nanxing. Those are the real bandits. Now. Okay, so again, we have the preparatory works. Can I do all of them? Yeah, I mean, they're 10 political power. We have 230. Seems fine. We'll deploy you onto Yellow Army for right now. And I feel like overall, I think we're doing pretty okay. Now, again, I can't really compare myself to other Chinese states. I mean, I guess just a ledger. We could do that while we're waiting for events to pass. Let's compare ourselves to other states here. So we got the ledger. I want, like, economy. Is there an economy? There's a faction tab. Yes, the economy. We'll look at this afterwards. The courier. Zhang Yu's job as house arrest officer was far from the grandest of works available to men. To surveil a man who didn't leave his home was about as mundane an existence as that bequeathed upon a man he imprisoned. Indeed, to stop someone from leaving his home leaves you more confined than him. At least he's at his home. Well, where is Zhang Yu? One of the small requests that punctuate the smooth line of scheduled existence rang out with a small bell. Zhang Jialeng sat at his study, a musty old room filled with the smell of wood and books, and a dust that couldn't go away. There were letters, piled so high that some of them had wet ink from many, while many were drier than bone. These are to be delivered, Zhang said. The addresses are already on all of them. Start early. They're to a great deal of places. Chao swallowed. He took a look at the first letter on the list and saw that some place in Hubei he had never heard of. Another in Zhejiang, where there were even a letter addressed to Yunnan. Did it even belong to the government? At least he recognized the fourth letter, but flipping through made him quite ashamed of his geographical skills. He looked at Zhang, who was giving him an incredulous look. It's not like you had to run all over the place, Zhang said. Don't we have a car now? Chao looked at the letters again, then back to Zhang. It was work, and work is work, and work is duty. It will be done. Okay. So let's see. So I want to get I guess we can open up our economy tab. This is what you're here for, right? This is what you're here for. It's actually saying here we got our surplus. 7.8% surplus is actually pretty good. There's actually so many countries. You ever notice that? Put it in alphabetical order. I can't do that. Never mind. We're not really going to look at this then. Well, I see. 5.13 GDP growth 7.8%. Guangxi 2.18. Jishan 1.4. Now, I mean, our debt is a lot higher in the billions as opposed to literally zero. But look at our growth 7.8%. Tibet 132 million. Where is Guangdong? Okay, Guangdong makes a lot more money than we do, okay? We're not doing as well as Guangdong. What about the Republic of China? How are they doing? I think they're up here somewhere. Republic of China, 52 billion, 6.41% growth. I think I would say we're doing better than we would given our stats here, right? Yeah, China is 10 times larger in terms of their economic output. But I gotta assume there's way more than 10 times the people in the ROC. Okay, and then we want to go for strengthening the Burmese road and laying down the road. The valley clearing project was meant to take a week, but Chow and his fellow prisoners had found ways to stretch the project beyond logic and reason. Days stretched into weeks, weeks mutated into months, orders for new explosives went to the government, and, like magic, were answered without question. None of these dumb fucks in charge had seemingly made the connection between the orders and the region's growing bandit problem. Worse, none of the guards seemed to care about Chow and his friend's regular trip out to the valley at night, or their regular, barely covered dips in supplies. Took you long enough, said Chow as the man rode towards him on a horse. It was dark, and there were crates stacked up beside him. I was this close to giving your order to another, very interested buyer. You would not dare to go against the forces of the National Protection Army of China. Yes, I've heard the lecture. We're all very grateful for your brave and patriotic service. Chiang Kai-shek would be proud of you if you were here today. Chow cocked his head. Just tell me if you have my money. There was a moment of silence as the National Protection Army messenger seethed. Then, wordlessly, he removed a thick roll of bills from his jacket. Chow grabbed them, thumbed through the packet, feeling its oil against his skin before shoving it beneath his prisoner's uniform. You find a normal supply of explosives and mining tools tucked into the crate alongside some small guns that we have set off some bandits a few weeks back after they raided the government warehouse, said Chow. It won't be enough to demolish the government, but probably enough to cause some mayhem. Should I put you down for another shipment? The messenger nodded. We'll need all the weapons we can for what is coming. Keep the cash flowing, and I will see what I can do. Also, I never turned off Fog of War. There we go. How many production units are we at right now? We're at 16. So, I mean, our economy is not really growing. We're kind of been at this 15, 16, 17 the entire time. The words of treason to come. It had been an ordinary day, like any other for Sun Luren, with a healthy run through the woods, supplemented by much other exercise. This had been his daily life for over a decade. And even if the winds of change begun to blow in China, Sun had not thought this wind would reach him so soon. Arriving back to his house upon the completion of his exercise, he found a single letter left at his door. That itself was curious enough. While Chongqing wanted something from him, as it rarely did, they always sent someone to meet him in person. Whoever had left this letter did not want to be overheard. After glancing from side to side, Sun picked up the letter and swiftly went into his home, shutting the door firmly behind him. Opening the envelope gingerly, he took the letter out and unfolded it, letting the envelope fall into the ground as he did so. The first thing that came to his attention was impossible to miss, a name that had for decades ranked among those most reviled by the Japanese, Zhang Zhulang. Though Sun had regrettably only ever been acquaintances of Marshal Zhang, he had heard well enough of his fate after the war, a continuation of house arrest that left Zhang had given him, to be confined without trial until the end of his life. Sun had never known why Zhang seemed to have gotten off so relatively lightly. Then again, perhaps the Japanese thought a worse punishment the marshal could suffer would be seeing the ruination that they had brought upon China. Encouraged by the sight of the name with such a respectable man, Sun began to read the letter. In short, the letter was nothing short of an invitation for treason, with a request for Sun's advice on whether or not an open rebellion against the government betraying its own people is wise. Though the Nanjing government has never mentioned by name in the letter, its meaning is clear enough, with many references to the justice faced by the famous traitors of Chinese history. Sun would be a lesser man if he did not answer in the affirmative. Dear Marshal Zhang. Well, we'll see how that goes. These will be done in 40 days. Every day, the insurgencies get stronger and stronger. Well, that's fine. Let's just let them grow. Let them grow. I don't know if there's any penalty for... Yeah, we'll do a negative enemy air advantage would be nice. I don't know if there's like a penalty for having this build up. Like, I would assume that like if we want the revolution to happen, having these all be maxed out would probably be for the best. But we'll see. Because let's see, we have strengthen the Burmese road. And then order in progress, followed by the fruits for labor, followed by take it off. Take a day off is almost certainly when they're going to do the coup, right? I have to imagine. Better industrial exercises, fantastic. That is just one of the generic events for completing like these policies down here. The road from Mandalay. Smuggler's job was by no measure easy. He had no allies save his client, and faced every enemy imaginable. Local authorities, bandits and criminals, at times rivals in the business, and even nature herself, with all her rugged mountains, befuddling woodlands, and treacherous cold nights. He had traveled alone, or at best in a pair, numbers that would draw attention or interception, and the KMT was a Stratford man regardless. But that meant that he was helpless against any desperate group of outlaws stalking the one or two roads which was in good enough shape for smuggling purposes. He had a pistol of 10 years experience, but that meant nothing to the raiders with rifles strapped to their backs and 2 decades of crime on their record. Fortunately for the smuggler, life had gotten a little bit easier with the recent renovation and reopening of the old Burma road, where there had once been a drag and push his cargo through muddy paths, while looking for and deftly avoiding bandit parties hidden behind every foliage on the wayside. He now had the luxury of an open paved road, unplagued by ambushes. Not to mention the far more direct connection, meaning a shorter journey. The only downside, perhaps, was the increased police presence on the road. But there were, thankfully, too preoccupied hunting down raiders and tracking insurgents to notice the people supplying those insurgents. Besides, the government hadn't been that competent to crack down on corruption, so a good bribe could always solve any sticky situation. All in all, the smuggler thought everyone was happy. The people were happy with the improved and safer road, the government was happy with the economic growth that it brought, and he was happy that the job had made just a little bit less difficult. And his bosses were happy with the more consistent deliveries of crucial supplies and cash that he brought. The road has been too successful. I wonder what happens. I guess why did like you fail that? Like, what if you just like never send those 2 dudes to actually go negotiate with Burma to build that road? I'm assuming. I don't know. Well, or was it guaranteed? I thought it was like a decision that we had to click, but I might be wrong. Maybe if you don't do it, Burma offers instead. Okay, probably going to need to defeat the free government. That is not a surprise in the slightest. 399. Why are you so expensive? Is that just your base cost? Base cost 400 in days on you. Okay, you're just stupidly expensive. Is there anything else? What do we even need? Engineering, I don't think there's anything for us. Industry tech is mostly locked to 1970. We'll take the extraction because we do have a research bonus on it, so I think it makes sense. And for our actual troops, is there anything that we can do to make you better? Because you're the boobing loos, which are not actually that great. Can we edit you somehow? Like, again, we have the army experience. That's not a big deal. We've no art. What do we have? We have some support equipment, rifles, rocket launchers. We actually we just don't have artillery. Okay. Maybe we should try to rectify that. Engineering company. We could throw an engineering company in here theoretically. Signal company, military police, logistics. Armored engineering company obviously is not going to work. Here's single. I mean, I guess we'll just keep an engineering company in here then. As well as if we can make you just slightly larger. Like again, they're not going to be good units, okay? Anti-tank. Yeah, we'll throw you up to a 18 combat with. Should be okay. And also, are you set to... Oh, you actually can't... Oh, no, it's down here. That's fuel prioritization. Can I not set priority? I guess not. Negative 950, negative 219. Again, they're not too bad. They'll get rectified in good time. And also, let's make sure that we're actually having, like, an artillery be built. Yeah, basic artillery. We'll throw you above early fighter. I think this makes sense. At least build some of them. Insufficient resources for tungsten. Not a big deal. I'm not too concerned with that one. Okay. The fruits of our labor. The 11th hour. While Long Yun, Zheng Zhejian, and Ananpu were planning a war of national liberation, the governor of Yunnan, Lu Han, kept moving on as if nothing had happened. That was a given the fact that Lu had no reason to know anything was happening. So as far as Lu knew, his cousin and his lieutenants were on an important, valuable part of Yunnan's share of the 5 modernizations, and none of them gave him any reason to believe otherwise. So it made sense that the governor was very happy with the way things were going out. Jinan was growing more and more prosperous by the day. The intellectuals over at the NSAU were blathering about bloody industrialization and playing the Sisyphant of to the Yamato scum. They were just blind to the real banners of his work. Gao Zhongyu, on the other hand, is not. Lu had just now received a missive from him commending Yunnan and Jinan's contributions to the 5 modernizations. It helped, of course, to know that the insurgencies were not enough to stop Jinan's progress into the modern age. Accordingly, Lu Han, always one for a good celebration, decided to hold a great countryside gathering in commemoration of his success, and invited many sphere delegates and dignitaries. The first person he told was his trusted second-in-command, his first cousin, Long Yun. When Long Yun heard the words of his cousin's mouth, his warlord's instinct, honed over years of ruling Yunnan, told him that the time was soon to come. Just like when he had thrown Tang Jiyao down all those years ago. The moment was very near. So Long, calling Zheng onto his side, gave them instruction to get the NPA prepared, and then sat down to write a letter to alert the NRA remnants to mobilize. For the war was soon to come. Okay. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be... Oh, is it happening now? Are we just never going to actually finish the last 2? That's very funny. Li Dong. The sky was dark, and the electric and oil lamps could only do so much against the gloom. Sometimes a gust of winds would strike him, and Chen would wince. Although dressed in several layers of woolen clothing, scarves, skirts, coats, jackets, he could never get used to the winter air. It's October, my dude. It's not winter. Up here, Chen thought that he could see the snow. No such luck. I mean, I guess it's in the mountains. They began to climb in the evening hours, just as the sun was starting to set. The light bled until it disappeared behind the mountains, leaving him and his group in the company of the silhouettes of the range, jagged and coarse against the sky-studded sky, lit by the moon occasionally, obscured by wisps of clouds. It had rained in the afternoon, and now the road was muddy and slippery. Chen's rubber boots were soaked in them, and against the slant of the path, it was sometimes hard to go on. Now and again, the road would curve. If anybody slipped, it was certain death. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, the KMT used this road during their to bring supplies from the British India into Yunnan. Even now, it was no different. For the past 2 years, the Burmese branch of the National Revolutionary Army had been sending supplies up the old road. Rifles, pistols, uniforms, food, artillery guns, and shells were among the items that Chen had seen packaged and sent to Yunnan. Today, the gift was something unique. It was his backpack of bills of yen and yuan, currency for the war ahead. Chen drew a deep breath. Though the chilly winter air was silent and still, it was as if he could hear the sound of those within the mountains. A slow, steady rumble echoed into his ears. Soon, it would all erupt, and China would never be the same. Fantastic. By the way, are you, you need 30 points? Oh, we don't have any guns. We can't do any of this because we don't have enough rifles. Increase in academic efficiency. Very happy to see it. Rubber processing is nice as well. So we can actually try to build our aircraft without having to rely on outside materials. We'll go for the 1964 infantry kit because it's fairly cheap to research. And yeah, I mean, the coup is going to be here very, very, very soon. My guess it's probably going to happen halfway through Take a Day Off. The Zealot makes the call. The hour was coming, and Jiang Zemin was ready. When Jiang's underground network obtained the critical information that Lu Han was planning a holiday trip to Boshan, and further that Long Yun would be in charge of governance during Lu's absence, Jiang understood at once. Drafting a letter, he asked his secretary, actually an underground party agent, to deliver to the CPC remnants in Vietnam. In the days that followed, he started mobilizing the dissidents and supporters to be ready for the inevitable takeover once the coup happened. He also sent letters to the Szechuan resistance, advising them to prepare their own share of in the anti-Japanese revolt. Far in the south, the Viet Minh controlled territory. Yi Jae-yun is reading Jiang's letter. A wide smile crossed his face, and his hands stood with uncontrollable enthusiasm. Deciding to leave matters of mobilization to his staff, he and his two aides-de-camp, Yang Deji and Yang Changwu, rushed to Kunming for the early preparations via the Kunming-Haiphong Railway. Not much was required in terms of preparations. Jiang was already prepared the necessary cover-ups and disguises for them to board the train and head north. But Yi had one last thing to do before he left. He had a friend to say goodbye to, Ho Chi Minh to be exact. While his officers packed his bags, Yi left for Ho's residence. And we'll see how it goes. See how that goes for them. And the farewell. Ho Chi Minh and Yi Zhengying's farewell was a brief affair. Though it seemed like the two of them were keeping their emotions under check, those who knew them knew that they were both deeply saddened. It made sense after all. Way back in the time before the Japanese imperialists masquerading as liberators seized control of Asia from Primisk to Phuket, Ho Chi Minh had gone north to what was at the time officially known as the Shan-Gan-Ning border region. While there, he met with a CPC general and had appointed a secretary, and the two became close friends over the years. That man was Marshal Yi Zhengying. After some more brief words, reminiscences, advice, and so on, and one last drink of rice wine, Yi and Ho walked together to the train station undercover. Ho prevailed upon Yi to let him carry at least one of these bags, as he had done so back in the day. Though Yi was recant to at first given Ho's old age, he at last agreed and gave him the lightest bag that he could find. At last the two embraced and parted. Ho for his home, and Yi for a seat in the train. As one got settled in his seat, the other got back to his house. A single tear left each of their eyes. It was all the evidence that they would give, but the grief of parting. Political power is actually pretty bad, isn't it? Government of friends. I mean, stability, 34%. I feel like it's been worse in the past, so like I'm not too worried about that. And the departure. Several days of preparations and sending invitations. Lu Han was ready to fly to a Boshan region in western Yunnan for his well-deserved rest. He called his cousin and old friend Long Yun to see him off at the airport. "Here now, cousin, I need you to do something for me," Lu said. Long Yun nodded willingly, as he had always been these past 50 years. What is it?" Lu Han nodded in acknowledgement. "Well, I'm off to Boshan for a well-deserved rest. Can you take care of the garment for me? It won't be longer than a few days." Long had done this before. He knew the drill quite well. Nodding obligingly, he agreed. "Of course, cousin. More than willing to help. You make sure to enjoy your journey." Lu, not noticing anything amiss, nodded his thanks. "Thank you so much, cousin. I leave it all in your trustworthy hands." With that, he embraced his cousin and boarded the plane. Sitting down and relaxing, at last all his efforts were coming to fruition. Surely he deserved a brief vacation after all his devoted work for Jinan and China. Long Yun, on the other hand, turned away to put his plans into motion. Okay, we free production units now. What do we want to spend those on? I think one more military factory seems okay. And for our research, 64 infantry weapons also sounds good. Again, very, very cheap to research, only 100 so days. And yet, shadows gather. Hairong's sweat dripped from his brow, and tapping of his long nails against the wooden desk. Each tap like clockwork. Brought some small, tranquil, in what was a turbulent, suffocating room. given graciously by the widow of a mine worker. Because, of course, in this hellhole, it's workers who suffer, leaving destitute wives that could barely raise their children, who grew weaker and frailer, to likely die working. His glance furtively goes to the right, past the soldier he brought to the meeting. If it came to the worst, gazing past the window into the starry night of Boshan, and he can't help but ponder, and remember better, more hopeful days. A noise shook him off from his stupor, a telltale sign of a jeep, cutting through the night with the lights off, the roar of the engine dying as it stopped near the house. I wrong risked a lot, but up to his own personal beliefs. Hong risked a lot, up to his own personal beliefs. Setting a meeting with this man, but with the savior of Yunnan out of the party and drink, there would never be a better opportunity. It really wasn't a time to focus on beliefs, when so much was on the line. 1, 2, 3 times the car's headlight flashed, followed by 2 consecutive ones, and Hai realized the pent-up breath that he did not know he was holding. Even his hands didn't escape the single-service pistol that he holds. He turns to a single companion. He mutters the first of what will hopefully be a very productive meeting. Tell Adnan to let him in. Okay, we'll probably go for like one more event. Because again, I do have to leave for work. It might happen when Take the Day Off actually completes. I'm not too sure. Okay. To eclipse the sun. Long Yun has, in his long life, seen all sorts of weaponry wielded and used against each other. Rifles, pistols, mortars, bombs, poisons. In his long service to China and her people, he saw the byproducts of her children, screaming in the anguish or tears, their gaze weakly glancing around fading faces. Desperate to find one he could recognize quickly enough to give parting words, be it to apologize or favors for the living ones to communicate with their next of kin, while they passed away in unceremonious silence. That's is if they would even be granted the honor. He certainly wouldn't give the Japanese and their sympathizers any. Hatred is humanity's finest, deadliest weapons because she is formless and shapeless like water, and easily able to enter every nook and cranny of a person. Before putting them to the ultimate test, one of resilience and focus. If they broke, hatred would break them, leaving them screaming, incomprehensible mad dogs we put down. But if they accepted it, nurtured it even, hatred would strengthen them. Sharpen their instincts, their mind, their will, even feed the fickle flame that fuels their life, giving them a little bit more time to deal with the cause of their righteous fury. Luhan was out, a vacation paid by the cost of the people that he exploited, and Yun dearly hoped that he would feast on his heart's content, as every man should be able to enjoy their last days. For Lu Han is a dead man walking, dancing alongside those who will soon follow. And I will say now, with the plan in action, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Did not enjoy, click thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.